Hey, what's up you guys? Akromaniac here. So for this video, I'm going to be doing kind of like a tutorial of sorts. It's going to be a little difficult to really teach it. It's more of just demonstrating and trying to describe how to do the 244, drop, cancel type of thing. So if you're not aware, it's basically this string right here. And showcasing how to cancel out of that. So to get that out of the way, realistically, it's not actually a cancel technically, but you kind of treat it like one. In a sense that you're still... where are my inputs? I really hate this button log. I think it looks hideous. It's terrible. To get into this, the best way to describe it is that you're not actually doing a cancel. Like you're not doing 2-3, into the flip, or 2-4, into the cartwheel or anything of that sort. What you're doing is just this. Let me just get this. This string itself, what you're doing is basically just recovering instantaneously. Like that's actually what's happening. Like that's what you're aiming for. So if you notice the hover, right, you naturally glide downwards, right? So what I want you guys to notice is if you move forward, you see how she's sliding downwards, or she's like hovering downwards, right? If you do this, that motion itself is basically the trick to landing these kinds of combos consistently, because they are consistent. They will change. Like I'm trying to think of an example real quick. Okay, like your conversion from here, you can do jump-in attacks, like it's a launcher and whatnot, you can do all this extra stuff. That's one thing. But now if you're doing back two, you're not going to be able to get a whole jump-in punch and do those kinds of follow-ups, Like they're still both meterless launchers, but the conversions will differ depending on which one you're using. So this combo specifically is going to follow the same kind of notion. So if you're doing it like... Basically, if you're doing it from herself, like from the forward 4-3, or you're doing it from like a launch, from like a big launch like that from a cameo, the follow-up will remain the same, regardless of which one that you're doing. So you do the back two, you have to hover forward, and basically hover forward to the last possible frame, essentially, and then you go into the jump in. And that's what will let you actually just recover instantaneously. So there is a very specific like happy spot where you're as low as possible, and when you recover instantly, you're kind of as close to the opponent as you can be, so that way you can actually just dash into a forward 4, or you can actually do a forward 1, as you can see, but it's not guaranteed to connect for the forward 1. And then if you do it in a corner or near the corner, you can actually connect a standing 3 or a 2-4 into the screen. But that's just kind of the gist of how that works. See, so like if we do it like over here, if I can land it. That's basically how that's going to connect. Like that's like the standard universal way to do it. If you're doing it from like a back 2-3, even if you use the cameo, the thing is you're always going to have to spend a bar for this one. But it's going to work out the same exact way. It's still the same exact kind of formula. You're still, once you do this and you're hovering, you start to hover forward, for a little bit. But that follow-up stays the same. Like that portion itself will always stay the same. The difference is, though, is that, again, if you're doing a forward 4-3, you don't actually need to spend bar. You can just do it kind of like on your own, just like that, as you can see. But if you're doing it from like a back 2-3, you will need to spend bar. To have it connect. And the reason being is that if you don't spend meter, you're not going to get as low of a... You're not going to have that hover glide to that extent that it's going to give you that instant recovery. So you can technically still do this. You can do stuff like this, where you can cancel into the fireball and do that, but it's just they're different routes, and this is really just for the people that still actually give a shit about the game, I will be the one to tell you to not give a shit, you know, and just uninstall it. It's kind of not worth the effort. But yeah, that's that. I think the only other way... let me get Sonya back. Like, they're a really cool combo in the sense of like what they do, Sindel and Tremor. I still think Sindel Sonya might be her best, or kind of like tied for number one, you know, alongside Tremor, just because she gives her the option to actually do shit while she's in the air. And you can actually convert in the air. Like you can be over here and do stuff like that, you know? Or be a little further back and still have that connect, and then still get your conversion. You know, or even just be in the air altogether and then just summon her and you have just a dive kick. You actually have an overhead, you know, coming from the sky. And it's safe. You know, so it's just... that's just meta talk and whatnot. So what I was getting at with this was that you can still do it with Sonya too, but again, you will need to spend a bar. I'm pretty sure you guys noticed how long that glide was. But yeah, see, like, this is my gripe with the game. Like, it's so crazy that having execution, doing execution heavy stuff, actually doing tight link combos that where you're not even using like meaningless things. It's not like I'm flooding the combo with this and trying to have different kinds of variations of this linking. You know, I'm actually doing the stuff that's more damaging, you know? And the fact that it scales so hard is just the most obnoxious thing about the game, amongst so many other things. But it's so insane to me that having execution is literally punished in this game. Actually being a good player is legitimately not rewarded in this game. And it's mind-boggling to me. So there's that. When it comes to you being in the corner, it's still basically the same exact follow-up. You back to hover, and then that's what lets you actually just do whatever you want. Like the recovery is literally instantaneous, that you can go and do a jump in afterwards if you wanted to, as you can see. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I think even from like the dive kick, you can do it. But you saw how long that hover was? Same premise. You know, you just have to have enough time for you to actually hover forward enough so that you drop down. Again, as you can see, if I'm moving forward, I'm sliding downwards. You know, she's going on a downward slope when you're hovering forward. You want to have enough of a downward slope that you're actually as close to the ground as possible once you start going into that airstring. Because that itself, like that specific pocket, that like super low height is what gives you that instant recovery to then do whatever you want afterwards. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I have very strong opinions about this game, especially with the current state, or rather with the state that it's left in, you know. And there was already a very sour taste to begin with, just off of MK11 and just the whole trajectory of that hot mess of a game. And then seeing how this game got treated as a follow-up was just, I don't really understand what they're doing as a company, and I don't care to understand. You know, those are their monkeys, their circus, that's on them, you know. And clearly they didn't care about the warnings, you know, people literally warning them, hey, try not to let the monkeys run the show. You kind of need somebody with an actual brain to do so, you know. But they didn't care to listen, and this is kind of the end result. So the reason why I'm mentioning all of that is just that I am very unhappy with the game, largely just because I am a Mortal Kombat fan. You know, I love Sindel as a character. She was my main in MK9, and I was so excited that she made it back in MK11. Terrible design. I was so excited that she came back in MK1. She looked fantastic. The trailer looked amazing. Oh my god, I can't wait to use her. such an uninspired and boring ass moveset. Like, it's just there's so much negativity that is associated with this game that I will not be putting out additional content beyond this, unless something needs to be further explained in terms of, tech or execution stuff. But it's so dissatisfying that, honestly, regardless of how much outreach I have, my whole heart of hearts, I don't stand for it. I don't believe that this game deserves any additional support, not from the content creators, and also, like, not even from the company. Like, they just stopped supporting it altogether. They're more interested in trying to scam you into buying all this nonsensical stuff, as opposed to actually putting out a good product. So, all of that aside, this is basically going to be like my last MK1 video specifically. I still think NRS has made incredible content in the past. Their last great Mortal Kombat was MKX. Their last actual great fighting game was Injustice 2. And then beyond that, it's just, I don't know what they were thinking, or who they hired, or why they let certain people call the shots. It's like they clearly don't know what they're doing, so I don't know. Feel free to ask questions or comments or anything of the sort. I'll try to respond to as many as I can, But again, I will not be putting out additional content for this game. It is not directed towards anybody in particular, no player, no scene, anything of the sort. This is entirely on NRS. Like, they fumbled really fucking hard, and they don't give a shit about you as a player base. They don't give a shit about the scene, they didn't give a shit to release a finished product. And it's just, anybody can make as many excuses as you want. It still falls on them regardless. They're not children, far from it. Like, look at the literal game that they're putting out. They are not kids in any sense or capacity of the word. So this entirely falls square on their head, square on their liability, and I don't think that the game should be supported, plain and simply. They clearly didn't care enough. And this is already now 2 games in a row. And there was already a lot of backlash even during MK11. And I don't really understand why, instead of taking that as constructive criticism or as seeing that as genuinely negative feedback, so let's actually improve and let's change it, they sincerely thought, you know what, no, we're just going to repackage MK11 and release MK11.20, or 2.0. And it's going to be titled Mortal Kombat 1, Like, we're going to retell the whole story now under the same exact design and skin and bones of Mortal Kombat 11, which is such a flop. Like, I don't know. Very strong opinions, which is probably best for an entirely other video. But that's basically it for this one. I hope you guys have a good day or night. Stay safe out there, and take care.